Hi, welcome to Positively Sparking, a podcast on internet marketing, online productivity and business. Today I'm with Matt Miller, a Newquay-based surf-loving businessman with a taste for quirky and unique property developments. Today Matt shares his story of how he started out screen printing for fellow surf-loving friends and grew all the way into his current business at Moore, one of Cornwall's most creative workspaces. So hey Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Phil. It's great to be on here.
Good stuff. So Matt, we've met quite a few times in and around your fantastic workspace, but for those of us who don't know you, just tell us who you are and what you do.
I do many things, I think. My primary focus at the moment is Moore, and I just love it anyway. It's really good, but generally I buy, invest and kind of develop property, look at different angles like we are now. I'm always looking for something with real character and, a real something that you can kind of build a business around rather than just traditional property investment, I suppose.
It's a great way of putting it. And for those people out there who don't know what Moore is, just to say Moore is Matt's fantastic working space. It's got offices there, it's got co-working space, and exactly the kind of individual and unique investment I think you were describing there that you like to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Ticks all boxes, and it's really, really exciting to me.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Matt, I'm dead excited to have you on the show because you have this business which isn't ordinary. So, ordinary is a bad word. I shouldn't use words like that. But what you do is very, very hard to get into, I believe, anyway.
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of barriers. So just tell us about where it all began, Matt. How did everything begin in your business career?
It actually began as a young surfer, as a lot of things in Newquay, probably a similar story, lots of people. Began really, my first company was a screen printing company, and I was a surfer who was kind of, I was quite close to the surfing industry through various reasons. And I kind of identified a need for screen printed t-shirts and stickers, which was a big market. And really, I just kept seeing that, hearing people moan that I knew, and decided to set that up. And I set up my own screen printing business at that point, really. And really, that's what started me off. Great
stuff. So having that kind of inkling that there's a demand for this and actually going and setting it up, that's a step not lots of people don't take, Matt. So what was it, do you believe, that made you think, do you know what, I'm actually going to do this and think that it's possible?
I think I'm always very positive about things and feel, although people maybe say I take risks, I think I do, but they're very calculated, aren't they? And the screen printing started exceptionally small. There wasn't big investment. I literally bought some old screens from, I forget where I bought them from now, but it was all second-hand stuff, and I was making the screens and washing them out in my mum and dad's bath and, destroyed the house really in their garage. So, it wasn't like I went off and borrowed a lot of money and dived into it with huge investment. So really it kind of grew from that, and the confidence grows from that as well, doesn't it? Once you start realising an idea, you can then start building on it. But really it started very, very small and very, very home-based.
Great stuff. So those first steps, even for an entrepreneur like yourself, were careful before you develop the confidence and the will as well, isn't there? There's a big will behind jumping into something bigger and more risky and taking something that's more than just a calculated risk. It's a leap of faith as well.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, you're kind of, when you're ready, and really, I think you always, as everybody's in sport and things like that say, you need to stretch yourself, don't you? And once you stretch yourself, you rise to it and actually, follow through and make sure it happens then, because you're kind of committed.
Very much so. So Matt, printing to property, that seems like a huge jump to me. So how did that all happen?
Another natural progression, really. Well, not natural, but in Newquay there's a huge shortage of cheap property for young surf bums. And really, the first property that I took on was a really rundown old house, and I bought as cheaply and as rundown and as big as possible, and basically slowly did it up, and moved other people in. So, they were helping me pay the rent and helping, or mortgage, I should say, and helping me have money to kind of make the place better and slowly improve it. So really that was the first property that I dabbled in, and it was a real important part of my life, really. It's a real big learning curve, going from no commitment particularly to suddenly quite a big commitment, really, at the time.
How old were you then, Matt?
I actually must have been 25, something like that, at that point, probably.
So 25 years old and buying a big rundown property. That's a huge step for someone that age. I know when I was 25, I was probably running away from things like that rather than running towards them. So was it always part of the plan to move people in and get them to help you pay the mortgage?
Really, it was a fairly easy one, that, because I always lived, as going back to my surfing kind of young days. I lived in shared houses all the time, because that's really the only way you can afford to get a decent house. You get 4 or 5 mates, move them all into each bedroom, and you've got a reasonable house. So really, I'd done that several houses before. It was a natural progression to actually go, do you know what? I need to buy one myself and do the same again.
Great stuff. So Matt, what did you learn from that first property project? It sounds like a real social, entrepreneurial activity in many ways, moving your friends in and having this big house full of all your surfing mates. But what did you learn in a business sense?
In a business sense, I learned that really, I suppose the first thing, and a huge, always relevant point, was that everything takes a heck of a lot longer and a lot more money than you plan. So that was a very big learning piece, and also sometimes tricky to actually work with good friends. So learning to kind of get some boundaries in, and keeping friendship and still keeping moving on, really, I suppose I learned.
Did it affect any friendships? I'm just imagining being a landlord and a friend at the same time will have conflicts at certain points.
So there's definitely conflicts. Definitely conflicts. I think that you do learn to kind of get over those conflicts quite quickly. They're kind of big at the time, but actually on the big picture they're pretty small. So I think time heals any of these kind of things, and I think it's quite an easy thing to get over after a while. But it is tricky at the time, definitely.
The ability to forgive.
Yes, definitely.
So Matt, how has the world of property changed since those first days on your first big Victorian house? What's altered in that time?
A lot of things, actually, I think, and nearly all of them positive. Technology is exciting. There's a lot of different build types. There's a lot of different things that you could be very creative on doing a house up, which you wouldn't have got away with a few years ago, for sure. You wouldn't be able to. I don't know. There's just a lot of things where you had to actually make the house nice. You couldn't really be. Well, you were creative, but I think you can be much more creative now. And obviously, there's just that world of information in the internet where you trawl through and think, hey, that's a good idea. So I think that's a big thing. And I think one of the others is communication now is absolutely amazing. there's gone are the days of letters or anything. I mean, I've never really been a part of letters, but those kind of communication points were really, really difficult, and very time consuming. Now, obviously, they're pretty simple, and you can actually look back. I tend to email everything. You can look back and actually know what you said at that time as well. So I think they're big changes, and I think the other change is that the actual world of banking and money has hugely changed. The world's a different place, and whereas maybe they were chasing you, saying buy more, now they're really holding you back, and all the exciting new ways of funding are coming through. So I think a lot has changed, definitely.
Just going to that last point you made there about finance and the difference in the encouragement to grow. Would it have been possible for you, if you were 25 today, to buy the same house and to do things in the same way as what you did not so many years ago?
Where there's a will, there's a way. so I think yes, but I think you just have to look in a different way. You don't just go to a traditional lender or whatever anymore, do you? As a young man. So I think if you've got the will, you'll find the route.
I think that's a great point, because timing is only relative to that moment, isn't it? And as you say, if what may have been the difference in price 10, 20 years ago, the difference now is the different ways that you can do things, even though the price might be hugely different.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, nobody wants to lend a young person money anyway, especially, when they're potentially single or whatever it happens to be. I think that's, they never were chasing you. It's later on in life when you've got a few successes behind you, then they chase you. But before that, they don't really want to know.
That's a very good point. When we don't need the money, it comes out of the sky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great stuff. So you mentioned there about where there's a will, there's a way. So Mark, could you tell us what have been both your toughest and your best moments to date in business?
Toughest is definitely, it's always tougher than you think, business, but litigation, I think, I've had two lots in the last few years when the kind of property crash and everything happened. Everybody went defensive and it just went instantly to litigation. So that's definitely the most soul-destroying thing you can ever do, and I would never, I would always avoid that now. So that's definitely the toughest. And the best is overall enjoyment and excitement of kind of the project, and immersing yourself in a project, getting really into it and really excited by it, and doing deals. I think kind of just spurs you on, doesn't it? It's a really exciting thing, and as long as you're doing something that you want to do, I think that's one of the best things, isn't it? That you're just enjoying what you're doing on a daily basis, not sometimes, obviously, but the general overview is great.
I think, Matt, it's the only thing that really gets you up every day. If you enjoy what you do, then even in those tougher days that you spoke about there with litigation and stressful things going on, if you fundamentally love what you do, you'll get up. If you don't, you might not.
Definitely, yeah. You've got to get up, and you've got to just get on with it, haven't you? Yeah. Once you put yourself in that position, you get up, you get on with it, and hopefully you love it.
Totally. So just going back to those particularly tough moments there, how did you deal with that stress, Matt? What method did you find to allow yourself to sleep at night when the litigation is going on? Because I can imagine that must have been so unbelievably stressful.
It is unbelievably stressful, and it's all-consuming, really. And I found it actually really all-consuming because it was the only thing I could do at the time. I didn't have other projects running alongside, so then I didn't have that to focus on. So um, I think you just have to believe that it'll be good at some point, and you'll recover from this, and you'll get on with it, dust yourself off, and crack on. And that is that belief, really, isn't it? That drives you to do your best and get moving again. Really, I think that was the toughest bit, though.
I bet. So what, the belief that it's going to get better is what you have to have inside. Otherwise, something like that would break you almost, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You have to believe that everything's going to be good, and everything. Whenever there's something bad, something good comes out of it. I always believe, you look at something you really, really want, and if you don't get it, there's usually something much better that comes along afterwards. And I think that goes along with bad times as well, doesn't it?
I agree. Do you find that some of on hindsight, I wouldn't say at the time, but on hindsight, the best things you learn are in the tougher times?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I've learned a huge amount from litigation. Those, all of the tough times. We've all had lots and lots of tough times personally and business-wise, and they definitely make you stronger as long as you're that way inclined, I suppose.
Absolutely. So, Matt, all those good and bad things that you've mentioned there in your career as a property entrepreneur, what tips would you give to someone who's brand new to it all, who's starting out into the property world for the first time in 2017?
Look for different angles, look at different ways of, like we said, the funding and things like that. Look at the way that funding works and maybe try and swerve off to one side and find an alternative way. You have to learn quickly, I think, and think quickly as well quite often, and adapt to what's actually going on, and actually love what you're doing, which will drive you.
Great stuff. And Matt, you've managed to build a great property and a great printing business in Cornwall, which is often considered a tougher region of the UK to create a thriving business within. So what about any tips you would give to a new business in Cornwall? What's important in a region of the world like this?
Well, I think it's finding the right business, isn't it? It's really it's actually a great environment, I think, to do business now, and I think there's a huge time of opportunity. Lots of good things are happening to Cornwall. There's obviously some negative things, depending on how you look at them, like the Brexit kind of scenarios and things like that, which is a little bit, what's going to happen. But I think as long as you find something that you're really interested in, and do your research and put yourself into it and commit to it, I think there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I think there probably is more opportunity now than when I was young here, because obviously the communication channels and the way that you can work remotely, there's a lot of opportunity. I think it's just you can't go with the old school ways and think it's still going to work. That's the point. I think you've got to adapt and change to what's actually happening.
You're still young, Matt. You said going back to the days when you were young, but they're still here, I think.
I really say that because I'm actually I live in my own little world where I still think I'm very young.
So speaking of Cornwall businesses, tell us more about More, spelled M-O-R.
Yeah, More is Cornish Percy, and I think that's hugely relevant. It's about where we live, where we are, and what's around us. Obviously, coming from surfing and all sorts of activities in the sea, it definitely comes through on everything I do. I think it's really about the work hard, play hard, and enjoying life. In this environment here, I think you can work really hard and you can still then go down to the beach later on and enjoy yourself. So I think it's not all about work. It's about actually enjoying work, being really productive while you're working, and being really productive in your kind of personal life outside of that. And So really what we're trying to build is a community of businesses who all help each other and pretty like-minded, and that's really what we're trying to create. We've got things like a room where you can get changed, go surfing, put your board and wetsuit in, and have a shower and things like that, and sneak back to the office and meet people without looking like you've just been surfing. Bike racks, things like that. So I think it's, we're trying. We've got lots more ideas as well, and I think we've got to just we're just looking at the definite kind of lifestyle element of business as well as the business element.
Great stuff, which is another example of your advice throughout the podcast of doing things a little differently.
Definitely, I think you've definitely got to try and look and be different, and definitely not jump on bandwagons and those kind of things. I think it's try and look for different angles in everything you do, really.
Brilliant. So, Mark, what are you going to do next with your business?
We are hoping to grow this business. I mean, there's a lot more to do here. So really, at the moment, the ambitions are to grow this and make a real thriving business community that actually has fun and cracks on with work when needed and enjoys themselves. So really, that's the main focus, and that's really where we're going. And I've got quite a long way to go yet on that. So try and make it more exciting for people to actually come here.
It's exciting already, Matt, but I'm sure you'll keep expanding that and taking it to new places.
Yeah, I think we will.
So where can we find you online? Tell us about both More and yourself.
You can find us at www.more with no e. So it's MOR workspace.co.uk. And that's it really. We've got Facebook, Twitter. One day I'll get my LinkedIn sorted as well. That's definitely high up on the list of things that I know I should do. Everybody has them. So yeah, that's where you can find us and me.
Great stuff. And any final message you want to give to everybody?
Look for your angles, get excited about it, immerse yourself, and enjoy, as well as the hard work.
So enjoy what you do and find your own way to do it.
Definitely. That's a really... I wish I'd have said that.
It's easier for me on the other side of the mic, you see. It's not fair. Great stuff. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we look forward to hearing more about More. My name is Phil Byrne, and I'd like to thank you so much for listening today. I hope you got something really good to take away from this week's episode for you or your business. And you know what? I'd like to give you something more. In fact, I'd like to give you a whole free web marketing pack full of all my latest and best ideas on how you can take your business forward positively online. Download your pack at positivesparks.co.uk/pack. And most of all, guys, look forward to seeing you again next week.